Hey, it's me, Jesse C. It's really hard to get into superhero comic books, isn't it? I mean, there's so many reasons why, right? But when it comes to the Big Chew, the main superhero comic giants, one of the reasons is definitely how penetrable they are. Spider-Man has been around for 63 years. The scrappy young adult you identify with is old enough to be your granddad.
Miles, where did I put my web shooters?
If you wanted to read his comics, where would you even begin? Issue number 1 or issue number 1? Issue number 1 or issue number 1? Issue number 1 or issue number 1? Maybe issue number 1. Did I mention that publishers love resetting the count of comics all the time to make money off collectors and to appear approachable even though the continuity is still the same? Yeah, you see how the problem is self-inflicted, no? Realistically, you're better off starting by the writer. Grab a writer whose run people like, get a reading list, and do your best to just resist the many text boxes telling you to go read some other shit. Nothing to get you invested, like feeling like you're missing half the context. And it never ends, because even if you get back to read those issues, they're also going to tell you to go back to read even earlier issues, and on again, until you're so far back in time, you'll be wondering whether you should finish this issue or go off to kill baby Hitler. Which brings us finally to why this is the perfect time to get into comics. This time or like a year ago, really. The Big Chew have both launched new comic lines, set up in alternate universes with the idea of simplifying continuity, modernizing the stories, and also just offering something different from the usual. These aren't just retellings either, these are straight up new and exciting stories. Funnily enough, both also have pretty much the same pitch of heroes being underdogs in a broken world where evil has won. Sorry, did I say funny? I mean sus. But let's not get bogged down on who copied who. The Big Chew shares so much DNA in the form of writers, artists, and so on that really, who cares? They have a very, to put it in a horribly graphic way, incestuous relationship. These alternate lines are Marvel's Ultimate Universe and DC's Absolute Universe. I'm going to explain what each of those are and their backgrounds real quick, and then run you through the comics in each line, giving you their pitch, my thoughts on them, and if they might be for you. I'll try to avoid spoilers, but let's face it, if you're here, you're probably not that interested in going in extremely blind, so I'm gonna do my best to try to sell this shit to you, and that might include minor spoilers. Don't come at me complaining that I ruined the fact Jimmy Olsen appears in a Superman comic, okay? You settle down? Ready to go? Cozy? Can I get you anything? No? Okay, let me just... Huh? Oh, no, that was nothing. Don't worry about it. Let's go. Marvel in the Ultimate Universe first. Okay, so remember when I said the Ultimate line was great for newcomers and devoid of the burden of decades of continuity? Yeah, I lied. Calm down! The door's locked, you're stuck with me, there's nowhere to go. And also, it just sounds worse than it actually is. You don't actually need any of the background on this universe, but I think knowing the broad strokes does enhance your experience. Also, I need to justify having all that knowledge stored in my brain, so sit down and let me tell you a story. Years ago, Marvel created their Ultimate line of comics, a separate universe from their main continuity, whose focus was to reimagine Marvel characters with a modern touch. It always wobbled around the line between being something new and a retelling of Marvel's old best stories. Regardless, a major creative appeal to the writers behind it was the freedom it offered. It was a universe with all the constraints of the mainline comics, which begged for the status quo to be kept and the sanctity of characters to be maintained. More or less. Usually. Sometimes. For them, the Ultimate Comics were a chance to push the envelope, start a new, better, greater, ultimate They ultimately f***ed, you might even say? If your mother knocked you over the head a few too many times as a kid. Turns out, some people do need to be restricted. In cushion rooms with nice white jackets. Look, long story short, it's Mark Millar's fault. Okay, let's make it a little longer. There were two modes of thought around the Ultimate Universe. Brian Michael Bendis' more hopeful approach, which launched the universe with Ultimate Spider-Man, which was really good by the way, and the anti-establishment, social critique, cheap shock value, misanthropic view of Mark Millar. Can you tell I don't like his work? Millar's work on the original Ultimates was very successful. A lot of the modern Avenger mythos even comes from it, but what political edge he had eventually blunted and it just became cheap shock value, which Marvel Editorial doubled down on as a vibe mandate if you will, making the Ultimate comics be consistently very unpleasant. There was cannibalism, incest, and just a lot of yuck. This all culminated on Ultimatum, one of comics' most infamous events, which killed and violated many characters and left the Ultimate Universe struggling along with a severe storytelling and financial limp it never recovered from. But then something happened. Something only possible in the mess that is shared universe comics, a medium that, through the revolving door of writers, is inherently collaborative. What happens to someone when life beats them down repeatedly? when they are put into shitty situation after shitty situation? What happens to a hero who wants a better place but can't seem to find it anywhere in the horrible place they exist in? Well, they get into their heads to make it that better place. The ultimate version of Reed Richards, a naive, somewhat disconnected guy who meant well, goes through a lot. Some self-inflicted, some not. But by the end of Ultimate Fantastic Four, he's been abused by a number of writers. So in Ultimate Comics Doomsday, a miniseries composed of 4 miniseries, don't ask, I don't get it either, Michael Bendis develops things in a logical direction, and makes this beaten down, abused guy into a villain, lashing out against the universe he is in and its greater forces. Jonathan Hickman then later takes this idea and runs with it, turning Ultimate Reed into the Maker in Ultimate Fallout. There was a lot of proper nouns there, I'm sorry. This is the kind of shit that can only happen in comic books. A character consistently abused by the writers gets turned into a villain by another writer because, yeah, duh. And then later on, this new villain's ghost, perfect to justify a reboot. Additive storytelling, yes, sent into perfection. I love it. Now, by this point, the Ultimate Universe was crumbling under the weight of its own bad decisions and continuity, thing that it was created to avoid, and most of the lines weren't popular except for X-Men and Spider-Man. Point is, Marvel decided to kill off the line by destroying the entire universe. Yeah, bit harsh. During Secret Wars, no, not that one. Not that one either, yet that one. The universe imploded for reasons we cannot get into. Suffice to say, Hickman was involved and it was pretty good. And it also ties into his Avengers and Fantastic Four runs, which you should think about reading later because the guy's pretty good at what he does. Now, the writers quickly sequestered 2 characters from that universe before blowing it up. Miles, because the movie made him super popular, and the Maker, because why not, he's fun. They are the old Ultimate Universe's sole survivors. Finally, it's Jonathan Hickman again who sets up the stage for the Ultimate Universe's recent return and reboot with Ultimate Invasion by giving the Maker exactly what he wants. A better place. Or a place for him to make better, according to his own standards. And that place is the current Ultimate Universe. The Maker travels to a universe much like his original one, and preemptively stops most superheroes from becoming, well, heroes. Squashing Peter Spider, stopping Weapon X, putting Hulk through therapy, explaining to Danny Rand what cultural appropriation is, etc. I would like to point out that only one of those was a joke, by the way. This results in a world where geopolitics are very different from our own. Different nations, different conflicts, which is part of the fun. Hickman's world building is always great to see. I mean, here, America even stopped existing. You know what? Maybe the Maker does have some pretty good ideas. The world is split between the members of the Maker's Council, powerful supervillains. They are all public figures that pretend to be at odds publicly for the Matrix reason of people get antsy when everything's too perfect. This all is shown in Ultimate Invasion, which is 4 issues, and is the only thing I have mentioned so far that you actually should read. It sets up the world real nicely, and as far as the Ultimates comics are concerned, I'd argue it's pretty much required reading. And considering that's probably the best comic of the bunch, you want to read Ultimate Invasion. But without spoiling it too much, by the end of it, the Maker is trapped inside his golden city. In 2 years, the gates of St. Peter will open again and God will return, very angry. Meaning the Ultimates, the heroes who have discovered the truth of the world, have only 2 years to ignite a revolution and build an army for the apocalypse. The figurative apocalypse, not that guy. 2 years, 24 months. Which brings us to a peculiar feature of the Ultimate Comics. A month passes between every issue, which means that the doomsday clock is always ticking down, and the comics will not let you forget it. The downside is that it can cause some pacing issues. One of the Spider-Man comics has a conflict that spans 2 issues, and they set the first issue on the last day of the month so that the second issue can pick up from where the fight leaves off and still be in the next month. It's very silly. It works, but certain other comics are not that lucky. Ultimate X-Men is really hurt by the gimmick, I'd argue. But more on that later. And that's about it. Again, I should say, you don't need to read any of the old Ultimate stuff. In fact, you're doing yourself a favor by not doing it. Just watch an hour-long YouTube video about the Maker and you're golden. The Hickman Secret Wars, Fantastic Four, and Avengers stuff I do recommend, but those are for later, when and if you decide to dive into the mess that is the mainline comics. Yes, I do love the taste of Hickman's balls, why do you ask? Now let's finally talk about the comics that are actually in the current Ultimate line. There are 5 of them to choose from. The Ultimates, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Wolverine, and Ultimate Black Panther. Since we just talked about the themes and the overarching plot of the universe, let's go with the Ultimates first, as it's a comic most directly related to the main plot of the Maker and all that.
Step back. We'll not tolerate drow in here.
Don't worry, we're here to save the day. Also because it's someone's birthday. No! Not in the lava! No! Bitch!
That's that.